It's scary what's going on with people in the US. Like, people wearing UPS uniforms are murdering people, pretending to be delivery men. I mean, listen, crime happens everywhere, and crime will always be covered on the news. So, physical crimes committed in the US, there are mass shootings. What's going on with that? Physical crimes being committed in the US, that's not a reason not to move to a country. The politics are, and American politics, hey guys, the thing is, that dwelling in witchy Africa, suffocating under my dystopia, because rather than a first world country falling apart brick by brick with no one doing anything would be too hard to watch, especially living right inside its walls. It would be too hard to watch. But South Africa, you've been a sight for sore eyes all this time, so I don't know what to do with you. One of your little cancerous monsters that feels entitled to me, living in a jail cell, and this here is apparently your country and I'm just living in it. Listen, listen, I out here throw my toys out the cart because I got toys to throw. I got toys. I don't know what you got, but I got toys. Nami, my toys that I can just throw away and be like, "Diang tella so kidi tumpi." Ke di rabazitse, ke di khahletse, ke di lahletse ka dipaniki, ke di beile mo pampara, ke thotse toro, guys, and ke tlo le kokela toro ena, hara toro ena ne. Actually, there was like a puddle of molten lava, like a pool of lava that was just like yo, imagine it rains, and then because there's like a gorge, not even a gorge, but just a little bit of a basin, like a little bit of a concave structure, but it's kind of shallow. There then is like water filling that joint, and it also opened like a hole in the ground, like a sinkhole. Like the rain rained so hard that it created like a little bit of, like, it broke the tar. It broke the sand until there was like a basin, and there's just like a whole bunch of rain, and then like without there being a quarantine zone around there, without there being a quarantine zone around there, as in demarcated with like yellow tape or whatever, there's just a general communicated like warning by word of mouth that little children and all adults, everybody pretty much in this neighborhood, it has rained, and it has rained hard, and it created a hole in the ground where there's just like a puddle of rain. So therefore, just make sure that you are careful when you walk around that area so you don't fall in there. But there's no red tape, and there's nothing, basically making sure that a child is not just gonna go running, and then land in this thing and drown in it. Yeah. Imagine something like that happening in your neighborhood. And as a parent, or a person at all, never mind a parent, a jogger, you don't get warned that there is something that people could fall into, and then there'll be quicksand and you sink into it and essentially die or get badly injured. There was something like that, like just in the general vicinity where everybody was at in my neighborhood. But instead of it being a puddle of rainwater, mud, quicksand, it was molten lava. It just opened in the middle of nowhere, and it was there just bubbling, hot. And people were just standing around it. Kids were running. Joggers were jogging past it like neighborhood activity. And there was no yellow tape. And in my dream, all I could do was just keep looking at this bubbling molten lava. And then inside the dream, I had a vision where it is that I pictured, essentially, I pictured somebody being so angry at another person that because go and grab, like basically in the middle of a fight in front of this thing that no one, for now, no one had fallen into it. But having a fight in front of that hole, and you know how when you're angry at people, every so often you be out here pushing them. Because you're angry at people, you be out here just pushing them, like shoving them or something. No, leave me alone. And then you walk away, and then you decide that you're super angry, and then you just push this person into molten lava because you're angry. And in my dream, I had a vision of pushing, like having my older sister being angry at her. And then I envisioned myself, because but instead of just drowning or getting up again and dusting yourself off, or because it's mud, it's lava. And as soon as I had that vision of my sister, me pushing my sister into that molten lava, I was like, my goodness, this thing is dangerous. People could use it as a weapon. People could use it essentially and push people in. And also, it was just right there. People could fall in there because they didn't see it, or they came running, or they came riding their bicycles and then fall into this thing and be unsalvageable. It was just like this open bubbling thing that I in my dream was of the imagination that, listen, there needs to be red tape around this, yellow tape, caution tape, something to incubate this area to ascertain that nobody in the neighborhood faces risk of falling into this thing until the government can finally do something about it, close it, or evacuate people from that region because this thing is dangerous. And in my dream, people were just like standing, walking around this thing, and I was the only person concerned about the myriad of possible issues that could arise as a result of this thing. The cornucopia of potential outcomes that are very tragic that could ensue as a result of this open lava small little pond. And then lo and behold, with me being all that worried in my dream about this thing, like I said, I was the only person concerned. Everybody else may but as no man. Perhaps I should just explain that part of the dream before I move on to the next one. The next portion of the same dream. That was, I think it's self-explanatory. It's self-explanatory. It basically spoke about the imminent threat of death that a whole bunch of unregenerate people are facing, and where they will inevitably find themselves when they do die. And it is only a miracle that no one has yet to pass away and actually enter into that bubbling brook of lava. It was a depiction of hell and how close it is to people. It is a depiction of hell and how people are literally at the precipice of it, and how the smallest little mistake or even an accident, like you riding a bike and falling in there, like you having a fight and then killing someone in a bar fight, and the person finds themselves in hell. Like you doing something that you feel like you can do, playing Russian roulette or playing chicken cars on a stretch of felt, out just saying move out the way, with there being a risk of these two motorists being so arrogant that they will out to crash into each other. There was a horrible accident of that nature back in the day where these Indian friends in the party scene out here played chicken with each other and nobody moved and everybody died in both cars. This car and that one, everyone died. Everyone. They all played chicken and everyone died. The one person expected the other one to move while the other person expected the other one to move and no one moved. Yeah, here it is that all these people played chicken and in just one fell sweep, just like that, they all landed in that puddle. They all landed in that molten lava. I had so much concern in my dream about that puddle of lava when no one else did. I was the only one. Wonkumuntu was cavalier, carry on with their conversations, walking around in this neighborhood like ain't jack. A jogger could fall in there on a run. People could get hit by cars any minute. You could die. Listen, the way that there's so much gun violence, going to nightclubs is so dangerous. Every time you go out partying, there is a risk that you're not going to make it home. Never mind from alcohol poisoning or even what under heaven happens that is violent in that ecosystem, but just the level of recklessness on the part of partygoers. They get into accidents, and just like that, utagi, where drunk like a skunk coming back from a club, you enter into molten lava. I knew of a few people known as in within the party scene, friends that died like that when I was on the come up. At the time, I didn't know Jesus, so I did not know where they went. But now today, because they died coming back from the club. But every single day, people are walking around this puddle of lava, and they're entering into there. And then there is, of course, anger. The Bible says that anger is as the sin of murder. And I've been angry at my sister before, and I did push my sister before because of anger. I've told that story, and she fell because she was so frail. Because at the time, and she hit her head at the back. She could have, died. And I pushed her only softly. And I had so much guilt in me. And in my dream, I essentially remembered that fight that I had with my sister that made me push her. And she fell. But in my vision, within the dream, she fell into that lava. Essentially, I would have been responsible for sending my sister to Hades out of just anger. If that had gone far enough to end her, out of what I imagined to be a small nudge, a push, but she made it. Some people nudge a person slightly in a fight, and they hit their heads against the corner of a desk and die. So in anger, you didn't think you're gonna kill a man, but a man dies, and where does he go? Molten lava. Having a fight at a bar, somebody dies, molten lava. I was the only person concerned in my dream. Listen, only one. And then with all this concern that I had, for all the possible things that could go wrong around this puddle of molten lava, I then have, these just myriads upon myriads of South Africans pop up out of everywhere, from largely the black community. In particular, I can tell you why there, but it was in my dream. Intersection, William Nicol, Kwako 4 ways. The on-ramp Kwako 4 ways, William Nicol, and essentially the N1 highway, that massive intersection. I used to live in that neighborhood. It's always just teeming at the folds with traffic, and it's huge, and it's bustling. It's huge. Like, y'all know William Nicol that interchange, like N1 highway. It's mammoth. I was there at that intersection, and I, as Kara, was placed I was placed on the street, and it's like I had no feet. No, not feet, but legs. It's like I had I had my my legs up to the end of my knees, like my thighs. It's like I was lame, essentially, lame. I had legs up to the end of my thighs, pretty much there, up to there, but I didn't have that. I didn't have the bottom part of my legs, my calves, the bottom part. I didn't have that. I only had the thigh area. And I was just with my stumps, essentially, on William Nickel, but I had an afro. And I was wearing this raggedy brown jersey. I was just so drabby. And I was on my stumps for the intersection near William Nickel, and I was being dragged and paraded on William Nickel in front of the cars that were just busy going and going for that intersection. Essentially, this person that was dragging me by my stumps was presenting me, unang advertiser, kobathu, as a beggar. Like, you know how you would find beggars on street intersections out there asking for money? But go William Nickel, I don't believe there are beggars. Well, maybe at the very beginning of it, some beggars can come and try and squirt whatever on your car. They can try and squirt whatever on your vehicle and then wash it. Right, wash your windows and what have you, Mara. It's just too dangerous for Go William Nickel to be in the center, like as in Momahareng, a intersection. There's no human traffic over there. Like, there's no pedestrian crossing. There's no crossing there. It's just 4 cars. Like, it's too dangerous for a pedestrian. If a pedestrian were to stand there, I and be driven over multiple times. Type establishment thing, they would just cause a very heinous accident. It's what I'm getting at. And I was in the center, not even at the beginning, the center of the intersection where it was the busiest, and I was being dragged by my stumps because I did not have legs to fill it in. And I was then paraded in front of even motor that were like all over the show. Essentially, I was facing death. And in my dream, there was no, I can't really say that I was in fear. I was in a posture of acceptance and compromise that that's who I am. And Lomuntu that was dragging me, it was a man that was just wearing great clothes, but I didn't see him. And he was parading me in front of the Kodloi Hulong Ponta. This is how South Africans are living. Give my South Africans and I link busy mapelo. And when I would do things, this is what regular South Africans are doing while you're busy. Only disabled, necks, future. This is how South Africans are living while you're busy sitting here going. YouTube. This is what the rest of South Africa are doing. When they can't walk on your own shoes, when they don't have your own car. William Nicol intersection. Mamela, mountain lava. And then after that scene, that's when I was dragged in the center of all this traffic. And this person on a very gray, South Africa, and inside Dikoloi were all these married couples, black, where women were in the passenger seat and men were driving the cars. Black married couples where women were being driven around while the men were the ones driving. There wasn't even a single car in Fitilongo intersection in Chaser where a woman was driving her own car, only one, or a driver with a man in a passenger seat, or a driver with a man in a passenger seat. I was made to essentially observe what would be the tantamount of come down to reality, Karabo. Wake up and smell the coffee. This is your country. This is what everybody else is doing. On your rights as umfazi. This is what the women in this country, within the black community, this is how they're living. Busy and are in a busy intersection and and they are happy, essentially. A vehicle in my dream always represents destinies and directions of people's lives, sometimes even maybe ministries, and the person driving it is a person who is in control and in charge. And whoever is a passenger in that car is being controlled. Every time I have seen witchcraft in my dreams, not every time, but a lot of times when I've seen witchcraft in my dreams, I was being driven. And oftentimes even in the, never mind passenger seat of a person's car, I've been in passenger seats before, but a lot of times I'm even in the back, almost like I'm being chauffeured. And God would show me then the faces of the people that are driving the cars to show me the responsible witch that's trying to control the course of my life's destiny. Somebody that is trying to basically tell me where to go. Somebody trying to tell me where to go. And what this figure in my dream, I can't tell you, listen, it felt non-binary. I can't say that it was a man or a woman. It was just a figure wearing gray, out here dragging me in the center of an intersection, trying to show me, South Africa ephila jwang, and in particular it was William Nicole ele busy. Yo guys, lo muntu lona ke ha ang foster a wena u disabled ha na bophelo, and then you're not gonna get a life because everyone else la emzansi uphila kanje na. Abafazi bonke bavembiwe karabo. All these black chicks that you're looking at banyetse banna ba ba jisitseng kaofela bona banna ba teng ne tshwantse ba ba beye in a bunch ka ditlhare bonke ba amgele impilo zabo. They all finally got to a point of acceptance. Who do you think you are? They all got to a point where they told themselves ukuthi ha kodwa mina ngifuna ukuchata, so by any means necessary. All the women that are happily married in these cars being driven ba amgele indaba ukuthi indoda yami ibhizi ngemithi kodwa at least ngihappy. So wena ha bane ha o tlo batla monna o etsang di-ritual mara o batla monna o nang le tšhelete, ha ona monna o nang le tšhelete o sa etseng di-ritual. Get up and eat. Nom, 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 nom. Second day, get up and eat. Nom, 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 nom. For your journey is still too great. Besides, there are 7,000 others that have not bent their knee to Baal. Let's say that again. Get up and eat. Oh Elijah, after what? You perform a miracle on Mount Carmel. The prophets of Baal are killed as they ought be killed. And then Jezebel says, may the gods deal with me ever so severely if by this time tomorrow Elijah is not like one of the prophets of Baal. Essentially, if Elijah is not by this time tomorrow dead as a doornail. And what does Elijah do? Runs to the wilderness, cries, says, God, take my life because Leona aksi impilo, I can't live like this. And then the Lord feeds him through the angel of the Lord twice. The Lord feeds him through the angel of the Lord, Gabili. And both times he is told, get up and eat, gather your strength for your journey is still too great. And ultimately he's even told, Noma ungatanguchi Jezebel ubizubulala wonka my prophets and there's no one left. Even on the miracle on Mount Carmel, he said that I'm the only last remaining prophet among you, and y'all prophets of Baal are 450. He even declared it before that miracle on Mount Carmel, saying that he's the only prophet left because he thoroughly believed that he was the only one left. But then when he was out in the wilderness feeling some kind of way with Jezebel trying to kill him, God comforted him not only by giving him food, but he also told him that there are 7,000 people that have been hidden, that I have kept in a bunch. Therefore, don't listen to that foolish woman called Jezebel trying to tell you that there's no one out here left like you. You might as well settle or compromise. And if you don't want to settle or compromise, die there. God will always go and grab the saint of his that is being told, bona kaofela mo South Africa ba yentse bona kaofela ona motho mongwe mona mo strateng o tshwanang le wena ntwe o itshwareletseng, the thing you're holding on to Hashem o si lebala khohlwa akekho munye la emzansi umfazi ohalile ohanengi kulonyala a ritualist. They will tell you that there's no woman in this country whose husband is not a ritualist, and they will also tell you, black women in particular, and they will also tell you that there is no wealthy man in the world or in this country or anywhere. There is no essentially law-abiding citizen. There is no righteous man that has made any kind of decent money. So if you insist on being taken care of by indota ezok nagegela, honey, you're gonna have to meet a ritualist. You're gonna have to be with someone oyetsang di ritual. Because haona monna oyetsang chelete mo South Africa unless oyetsang shiga. Haona monna onang le business ailing successfully unless he takes bribes, unless he money launders, unless he racketeers. And listen, I'm not out here even trying to argue with about there are no black men that are wealthy in this country that aren't actually corrupt, because my husband is not even a black man from this country. But what I'm trying to get at is that the supposition, what do they call this thing? The suggestion on the tongue that there isn't even a single honest entrepreneur in this country that God has actually given prosperity is bizarre. The fact that black people, like the fact that there is so much arrogance in the occult that they imagine that every lost black person is in their black back pocket, that every lost entrepreneur, every lost business leader, every lost successful woman or man, or every lost marriage that looks like it's happy on the surface, that's doing really well, akuna somebody there OGC someone, or akuna magic in jefela omongata. Just the fact that good kabangwa ukuthi wonke umuntu uthole amathenda through umshika, just the fact that it is imagined that everybody works for this deep state black ANC trash nonsense, mamela no. Anyway, there will always be abantu nje abangaspice kelem somshika. because God knows how to preserve a remnant. But that's just the thing. It's always a remnant. So the perception of everyone being dirty, everyone being corrupt, is only inspired by the fact that the majority are. I will give you that. The majority are, but majority is not all. There's always a remnant. There are 7,000 others that have not knelt to Baal. All of them are corrupt, most, but there will always be that one person that God gives a success. Otherwise, his name would not be proliferated. Otherwise, the mission that he has on earth to gather for himself a people for his own possession would not be fulfilled. There would essentially be perpetual chock-a-blocks, barriers to entry, issues in proliferating the scriptures. There would be wholesale genocide murder in the land of Christians with no fetters. The only reason why they're so scared is because bakhona bantu not only bathandazayo, but they just don't buy iskelem, and they have never said no. They tried to curse my memory hore ke ska hopola ditoro tsaka, mara ba nkhoze somehow hore ke accommodate the nonsense e ba iqadileng. That was that dream. I ke so fetse since ne tsola pele toro en ke ha ke le on my stumps being dragged in the center of the highway, cars just going into intersection, and inside these vehicles were black women being driven around in cars by their husbands. And they all appeared so happy, and I was out here roaming around with my stumps, being shown reality, seeing as I appeared to be divorced from it. Ke dutse mo ka moreng ke ntse ke le busy ke bona ntho tse di kima tse di ngata on a rooftop. Mara look around, girl. On I'm siding mo South Africa wa motho montsho o nyetseng monna o nkare o etsa sense, o sa loyang, o sa keepwang in a bunch. Ke outinyana ya go robela tshirianeng ya motshwareng ka ditlhare mosadi a sa mo amogelang a tsebang gore monna ka ona le mshika mara at least ke na le life. And all I gotta say to that is that the Lord keeps giving me food to eat and tells me there are 7,000 others that have not knelt to bed. Kemzalwane dinja dwela ngo foster la hesha angizochata inyongo snacks lephupha alikapheli angaqedi. This aberration that out here in grey carried me to the center of William Nicol and then slazat me in front of wonke umuntu succeeded to make me ephupweni though, because that's just the thing. He phupho anizothola nekese once I wake up from lephupho. I'm not going to have the sentiment ephupweni that I had in the dream in waking life. I'm not going to have the sentiment in waking life sort of that I had in iphupho. Amaphupho are suggestions, they are planted. Kodwa mina mangivuka akusiki go rebuke king akusukhalela indaba yokuthi basafosta basahesha lezi nsha azifosti yini ziyahlanya zidakiwe. And then I rock up, and even though I wanted to take a break today and not record content, and I come here and I tell you ukuthi skipani nina zinjezo bring her on board, it dark ages for the country until wonke umuntu akakwazi ukuphefumula ngoba ngangothi ukuthakatha the South Africa and be left in Jefela to have a dystopian nightmare where every woman is controlled by a deadbeat, crazy, ritualistic husband is sustainable. There is no peace. There is no rest for the wicked. The wicked are like the tossing sea, whose waters bring up mire and dirt continually. There is no rest, saith the Lord, for the wicked. I have told you guys before a dream that I got where I saw abafazi, ba wonke la ritualist, ba heavy, ba not so much kwatile, but trapped in marriages where they felt like my husband is so evil, I can't stand him. Wanting better for abantwana babo, wanting to take their kids to church, raise them up in the admonition of the Lord because they got exhausted. They got exhausted. So even the depiction in my dream of happy spouses married to occult men, and one of the ladies in this car is this one chick on YouTube saying that I used to envy, but I got over it because I'm a Christian. But she's a successful content creator, and she does content. Essentially, I was being told, you can be this chick, you will get a YouTube channel if you're successful, and you'll be able to live your very glamorous, beautiful life as much as you want. Or it's a fashion blog, but you don't get to do ministry. And then go and start a fashion blog, because that's what you must do, Karabo. Yes. Go and start a fashion blog. You will get followers on Instagram. You will get a YouTube channel where you're going to be followed by people that are going to admire you for how beautiful your hair is, how beautiful your earrings are. That's how you will make money. Essentially, you will be famous, you will be popular girl for being fly. She was among the happy wives. I control like him driver around. Essentially, I'm being promised. Capitulate and accommodate one of these monsters. High on cocaine. And baby, I will give you even a YouTube channel in Kulu. I'm a Christian Ubitwanangaga. Uyo Pila, essentially Impilo Slay Queen. The very slay queens I just spoke against in my last video, where I was trying to reach them for Jesus, saying as women you need love, and you're not gonna get love from a man that out just splurges money on you but cannot give you love, and if you chase after it, you will find nothing but emptiness. And I spoke about how Wanalama Slay Queen Wakona, I said Genziwa in the South Africa as tools for money laundering. by cultic men, satanic, horrific men that in their crimes use women to launder cash by buying them fake things. However, retailing presenting them as the real deal, that they might keep the money and give the girl the fake Gucci. They are using slay queens that don't know any better to essentially launder imali, because listen, their little businesses are no longer a good enough front. And herein lies a man saying, I will give you impilo ye slay queen, where utla have an Insta life impressive with millions of followers. Wonke umuntu ufuna ukuba wena karabo. Kodwa, listen, you have to come in my house. You have to be my wife. And you also have to leave this whole Christian thing that you're doing. Then you can be very fabulous as a beautiful, gorgeous woman. Wa makeup mangata fela. Di masala mangata fela. Lady kipa di aparo di eng tse di ngata di bag. Di trip overseas. O gadisa South Africa e kaofela. O lo gadisa South Africa e kaofela. Ne? E tlo go tlotlang. O finally be happy, because right now so fale ha botlhoko keng o ntse o utlwise botlhoko for bozalwane bo ba gago bo hectic bo gwetseditse lo bozalwane ba go bo kentse lene ka ra ngoba o hlophekile mamela. Jeremiah said, modimo o mphile mollo mo pelong. I can do nothing but prophesy. The Lord has put a fire in my chest. I can't do anything but speak. The Lion of the tribe of Judah has roared. Who can but prophesy? Amos said the same thing. Bana ba modimo ba fuwa mollo mo pelong. O ka se modulisi mo sofeng e comfortable e turang o bo mo fa pese ya Gucci. O mo thulise modimo a mo file mollo mo pelong. O tlo borwa ke taba hore he batho just like modimo wa ka o mpeile on top of a terrace wa mpontsha di kingdoms tsa lefatshe wa re worship me and I will give you these things. O tlo mfa eng Instagram e boring e shallow ya di cherry grand sharp tse senang sincerity tse sa kgoneng go ba honest ka themselves tse dulang je fela di impressa batho di shebane le di likes le di followers le di sycophants mara ba sna le rato ka nnete ba nyetse banna ba batang ba sa kgoneng go rata ka nnete, because anare o tlo rata neng o tshwere mamlambo o tshwele abuti. When are you gonna ever laugh? When? So abakho ha happy ba nanje fela nama psychopaths maningi kodwa kune depression abana thando wampela and wonke umuntu obloma nabo abakho sure if they're sincere. Those are their lives. Akuna thando go empty. Nna he I belong to the wellspring of life ongfang menzi asa feeling. I belong to the bread of life ongfang borotho bo sa feeling. Ke dula ke le satiated. Ke na le what they call contentment and completeness in Christ. Modimo wa badimo, the real God. Ke modimo manete and go teng go na le khotso tle. Yeah, he will make my righteousness shine like the dawn and the justice of my cause like the noonday sun. Ha gona engwe khotso e phalang ya Jesu ya lona e temporary and le teng e inspire ke di likes le di comments le batho ba le followang and le tshaba go wa pela bona, le tshaba go bontsha di vulnerabilities tsa lona, le tshaba go bontsha go le batho and that le needinga uthando no respect, le tshaba go confessa when you're going through a hard time, because le tshaba go latlhegelwa ke di sycophants, le tshaba go bontsha humanity. And imagine if you cannot lay your humanity bare before other people and so therefore have them relate and you relate with them, on that day you have left yourself out on a limb to human companionship. For the Lord made Eve for Adam, for it is not good for man to be alone. When you make yourself this pinnacle star above everybody else, you can never relate with the human race and human qualms and human issues, or even though you relate, you can never leave yourself to be at their level that you might be able to have camaraderie with them and so get each other. You essentially lose out on being human. You lose out entirely on being human. And if at all you're gonna lose out on being bad to human, what is the point? Like, what is the point of living if you cannot have a purpose? If the only friends you have are those that are kissing your behind because of all of your Instagram followers, if nobody can even really truly lay bare their vulnerabilities before each other because everybody is just so busy flashing trash in front of everybody, I mean, if those are your lives, why would I want to seek out after it when I have found the bread of life, the wellspring of life, the one who makes me sing praises in a dungeon, in a prison cell, the one that makes me have melodies, the one that has given me a big fat chunky mink coat in the center of this Antarctic sorrow. I am warm in a way that you never can be. You're blasé, you're apathetic, you're nonchalant, you have no love for other people, even though the Lord gave us commandments, the greatest of which is love him with all your heart, might, and strength, and the second of it being like him, love others as yourself. If at all your whole thing is about being pompous, aloof, removed, divorced, just like Edom, standing aloof with your nose perched in the sky like a birdie, like an eagle, when your people are enduring hell on earth, if at all your whole model of being a human being is classism and apathy towards the suffocating and flashing your trash in front of people that they might feel like they ain't jack in front of you, honey, you have lost the plot of what it means to be a person. And ain't nobody that lost the plot as to what it means to be a person going to be any kind of able to survive a dystopia. Nobody is going to be able to survive hardship. It is when, listen, Gyashuba and walls close in, when people start to need real love, real company, real honor, real camaraderie, real one anothering. And the Bible insists upon it. One another, each other. Whereas there is just this like coldness, this aloofness, this despondency in people, the love of many growing cold that essentially makes them forget one another. And so therefore the very purpose of us existing at all, God himself is a relationship. He is a triune God, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. There is no loneliness over there. So therefore when you put yourself pinnacled above everybody else, you put yourself in a loneliness that not even God can ever endure. So, I mean, really and truly, are you not leaving yourself out on a limb on that day by thinking that I'm the one here that's going through hell on earth, honey? I am in a peace that transcends understanding, that you can never ever fathom, grasp, neither reach, for you have not my God. So therefore, the things of God are as foolishness to you, and that is why you thoroughly think that I can covet such an empty life. That is why it is easy for you to fathom that I can covet a woman that merely has an Instagram yawning like a burger, yawning like makonya amangata, li chips, li acha, li snowfish, proper, yawning like a white leaf. In when I'm makonya thing, the way holings do like a yawning, and yet there is no love. I'm sorry, there is no satiation. It's just junk, just like that food. It is just junk and utter rubbish, very much like that food. And so, if at all, for crying out loud, you think Kamapilo are the slay queen. They're among the emptiest people on earth. They're among the most unhappy people on earth, and they have to keep on exploiting disrespectful and unloving men to make their money. Men that don't cater to their needs, men that don't care that they're human, men that think they can just splurge on them and throw money at them but not actual dignity, men that make them do some of the most horrific things in bed that demean their dignity. But however they do them, because this here is uput madrisa wam. Umfazi ozo fundiswa ama gags, ama chains, ama whips. Elori yena mwana watu withatela missionary position. Obatlanje fela intimate sex, and yet she is being made to do izinto nje ezingabonakali kodwa dikoto tsatshela tse dikana ha di crying. Umfazi that's been made to engage in very animalistic sexual acts in order to satiate a man's fetishes. Kodwa, aren't you getting taken on shopping sprees? Kumilan, you leave there feeling filthy, with your dignity squandered, and yet you think Uguti, their lives are enviable, covetable. I am dealing with men with such sexual deviances that and when I'm like, so please take out a chill pill. I don't do snacks of things, Mina. I get experimentary with, and I get the apron and yeah, I'm a daughter that are gonna go and squander the dignity of women. And acting that I feel used and abused and dirty after such filthy sexual acts. Have intimacy in romance that makes any kind of sense, but they can tell Utibaya use as a fetish. So it is extremely cold. I will not have gone through Mamela 11 years of hardship and enduring Christian persecution. Ezo insisted to put a gag in my mouth and whip me while just ravaging my body. And then over and above it, physically ritual. Wakula, hana lerato, every so often one lapela. Aloof, what's the word? Mean spirited. Mara, guess what? I look so happy on the surface. Essentially what you are presenting to me in this dream is the lie that you are selling everybody, that is then causing everybody to pursue this life until they experiment with it themselves and realize every last one of these women come to a point where they are in regret for accommodating you in their slay queen lifestyles. But sorrowful, because bayazi of what happens behind closed doors. Wonkumuntu is on their cell phones trying to see how many followers they got from the last post they uploaded. You smile for cameras, you do photo ops. Every a man that is narcissistic always looking at his phone, right next to a woman that's also narcissistic, always looking at the mirror in her phone right next to that phone. Chilling on a couch with popcorn, cuddling, just having fun, watching a good clean movie with a guy like that. Your whole relationship is a business transaction. It's all about making others feel right at home when you don't even have a home. You live in igloos. You think that I am the one here in an igloo. You say I am the Eskimo over here, yet I have got a warmth of comfort that causes you to covet my life so richly and so thickly that you will thoroughly try to make me gaze upon all of your lackluster fallen lives that is slay queens alone, where you are going to award women Instagram profiles with 1 million followers on them, and yet still nonetheless, despite having 1 million followers on Instagram, struggle to sustain your lifestyle. How do you have 1 million followers on Instagram, paid from affiliates and brand deals and all that jazz and still struggle to pay rent. It's because you're insisting on living on a baza with an echo chamber in it. It's because you're insisting on driving 4 cancerous cars that you might out your floss that crazy life on Instagram. How in the world do you have 1 million subscribers on YouTube and still struggle to pay rent? It's because you're insisting on living on an island that you own because you think you're Oppenheimer. And if you can't afford that lifestyle, then of course you're going to keep on working tooth and nail to keep people not only following you, but brand deals coming and fraud being pushed that you might continue to lie to people about a lifestyle that you don't actually have. You are never content with just enough. And you want me to live a life where a man gotta keep on financing the life of an unreasonable slave queen by being a criminal. I'm not that thing. I'm a daughter of God. I'm born again. I am too beautiful on the inside to do a life like that. And I am too filled with the Spirit of God to not be emptied, drained to the point of suicide by a life that's shallow. Halina substance halina substance and maphelo a lona a le wa flossang mo pela batho. Ha ke tsebe wena no ga attractive mara rona bana ba morena Jesu a ke re tseba nnete. Bona bana ba Jesu re tseba nnete a ke re bona as we ought. Thina abantwana baka somandla siyazi iqiniso. Thina abantwana baka Jesu sure sazi iqiniso. And so because re tseba nnete just as it is gawking at us mo matlhong re tonnetse. Re le shaba fela le ntse le re flosetsa ka ntho tse sena tse tsa itseng sense. Tse sa khaseng tse sa bonaleng tse sa cooking the weight di lo krami sifanyana hore di bonagala. But nonetheless, albeit being scrawny and skinny, you be out flossing them like they're Danny Bravo or whatever, like a bodybuilder. You are rife with optical illusions, is what I'm getting at. You thrive on gaslighting, on psyops, psychological operations where you're out manipulating people into believing a lie. All you live on are psyops. And so God has trained us how to deal with psyopses. We are not unaware of the devil's schemes. That's what the Bible gotta say about our existences. So carry on with your psychologibecause operations. But as for me and my house, we will keep on serving the Lord and then also kind of let you know that because we are filled by the Spirit of God. We are too filled by a substance that gives us substance. Too much to essentially find value in your lack of substance. It's what I'm getting at. So you paraded these cars. No, these cars were not paraded in front of me. I was dragged. Oh, William Nicol, this gnarly, monstrous lifestyle that you think is actually giving will present itself to me as acceptable, where it is that I was offered all my wildest dreams worth of a lifestyle, insofar as I will settle for cuddling with the devil. I'm drained. I'm pushed like a jungle. Right now it is 15 minutes past 10 and I even get the shallowness of my nation. Because that dragged me in the center of the street, that non-binary creature that out dragged me. Once South Africa I was like, my point exactly, it's a dystopia. And it's fast and furious, headed, crashing with a head-on collision into Mamela, a dystopian nightmare where there is absolutely no more word of God preached in your streets, and so you will get your wildest nightmares where all you got are your slay queens and no gospel. All you got are your put matlisas and their mum lambos and no gospel. You will get essentially entertainment industry type darkness. You know how in my last video I spoke about people who have celebrity fatigue, the world. I spoke about how it is that the world has got celebrity fatigue. Celebrity fatigue is induced in all of our bones. Because who in the world lives so a nightmarish, dystopian, satanic life out here doing crazy rituals on stage and makes that a regular existence? Who weird? Who lives in the center of a pentagram all the day long and is normal? Who lives in the center of a one-eye symbol all the day long and is normal? Who out here be standing on stage with nothing but like flags on their nipples and thinks it's a way to dress in public all the day long and is normal? Celebrities have got an extremely dystopian life and yet they're trying to glamorize it. So if you want lives of celebrities where you are rocking up with nothing but feathers on your nipples for an outfit just for the shock factor, rocking up at a gala, what's up next? Because you want people to see your body. Whereas you would never ever go to a gala between regular people and have somebody rock up their apere, whatever it is that Kanye West's wife was not wearing. People don't go to events looking like that unless they are in front of cameras trying to shock everybody. I often wonder how they even sit down and out here at those particular awards shows. How you are able to look at them. It must be very awkward. It must be extremely awkward Umuntu likely probably feels that whole night because celebrities are the ones that are out to do stuff like that. How weird. Their lives are entirely weird. They work for a satanic industry, and so therefore you cannot follow their example and think that you're going to be normal. So in the same way that the world has celebrities fatigue because their lives are just anomalous in comparison to regular folks' lives, occult practitioners' lives and people into witchcraft and expecting people to function within this dystopian nightmare are also anomalous. You are weird. You are rocking up at Grammys wearing nothing but feathers on your coochie like you Adam and Eve after God busted you for being naked in the garden. That's all that you got. And you're wearing that for an outfit, do you? Your nakedness is that stark before oil, and your life is glamorous indeed to the world, yet entirely unreachable and unsustainable by the rest of us. We're down here, and frankly, most people are quite happy to be down here. And so, level weird like that. Mamela, and we don't do nakedness. I am a daughter of God and we don't do nakedness. Impilo zenu zi weird. You and your like cigarette butts covering just your nipples for outfits. It's okay. Like, listen, it's fine. Wearing a tutu and think it's okay. Though you're not doing a ballerina show, it's okay. Do you? But I'm not wearing a tutu to the mall because I'm a person, a regular one. Yeah. Be as weird and eccentric as you want to be, but I choose to be normal in Christ. So I was threatened with that. It is still out here ongoing. I was paraded on my stumps. The stumps represented my immobility. Essentially me having nowhere to go, nothing to do. Or disabled now. Okay, fine, I got stumps, do you? I'll keep my stumps. I'll make like Lazarus and you rich man one day in the future. I'm gonna be out there looking at you and some look at me, I made it to heaven and you didn't. Booyah. I'll keep my stumps. They then appeared for the same dream. My uncle and my cousin, almost like gods, looking down on this event and facilitating it. My uncle and my cousin that I just spoke about that tried to hand me over to a marriage to a nasty man. They were facilitating it, overlooking this whole entire scene almost like they were gods from the clouds, from the sky. My uncle was wearing a black outfit while my cousin was shrouded in some red one, both colors of which are often synonymous with witchcraft and darkness. Just there in the corners of this particular environment, ecosystem, just surveilling the situation, monitoring it to ascertain that ultimately I will see my need for a husband, because every other woman in this country is content to be controlled by her witchy husband. That's how it ended. Was God showing me, while your whole country is out here wholeheartedly focused on trying to marry you off to trash, everyday people are falling into hellfire by their numbers while they're trying to parade my saints, trying to make them before a dying world of people that don't have substance, that are miserable, that are depressed, that can't even breathe properly, they can't come up for air, they're wearing a tight brassiere, can't let them hang, they're wearing tight corsets, can't breathe, and yet they are trying to make my Christians understand where they're all coming from. And this whole thing is being helped along by some of the most craziest of misogynists, psychopaths, and chauvinists in the land that don't even have respect nor regard for the fact that there is an epidemic of gender-based violence in your country too much to be throwing struggling women to wicked men into rituals. That's what that whole dream was saying in one paragraph. Let us repeat that paragraph. Every single day in your nation, there is a hazard of people just dying and falling into hellfire without the gospel, while there's barely anybody worried about them except for the remnant of saints in the ecosystem. And at that very same time, they are dragging my saints before a parade of malarkey out here, trying to make itself appear seemly to a people that have been awarded substance by a God who has gazed upon them carefully, while they all live very shallow lives that will never ever add up to my tyranny. Nonetheless, they're being paraded while being impoverished, while those among my saints who are daughters in particular have been put in the harm's way of being wed off to the very cancer that the country is struggling to find remission from. Their own relatives, their own loved ones are too focused on proliferating a gnarly misogynistic agenda in the country to realize that this here is not the right place to do that, given that there is an epidemic of GBV in South Africa. Stop dads, stop cousins, stop friends, stop men throwing women to men thinking that men will take care of them when your country is the worst one to live in for women because your men are violent. Until black men take a mirror and look into it, they will keep on thinking that and you're busy trying to maintain by saying other than because I mean degree ba go loile o tlo thola botšha ba gago bo ka moso ba gago ba go nkela botšha o sentse o eme on di hope nyana tsa gago o latlhegetswe ha kana ke a kanyala ka ga mamela. This here is not some la-di-da island. It's a candy floss where men are always just blowing bubbles of hearts to their love interest. This is the place where men who feel very passionately and very strongly about women make a decision to kill them. Seeing as I'm not living in candy floss land where men be out there blowing heart-shaped bubbles to women, but rather where they are throwing daggers and axes to them and chopping up their bodies into multiple pieces once they die. Malume, I cannot but that you just so happen to think that what I need is a husband. I don't care that that's what my cousin just so happens to imagine is fact. I do not care if people are of the imagination that I am in dire need of realizing that hayo engwetsela for basadi mona mo South Africa other than who accommodate the regisiwang ka rona re masea that are in dire need of nesta because we pepper. We can't bring a spoon to our own mouths. We pepper tshwantse nje fela ke lo jisi. Ke lo amogela ke tseba ha kana ke lora. Ke na le spiritual gift. Ke tseba gore ke a jeswa, ke a control. Mara tshwantse nje ka nkae. Ke lo nyala monna cause ana o mongwe mosadi o survivang mamelang. That's the kind of stuff that if at all you were gonna coerce umfazi to end up in it angagcina anga asibulele rather than if at all the country is so dystopian that there's no woman that can ever in the black community achate kahle unless indoda emcontrolayo. If lo muntu uyaphupha, if uyazi ukuthi kwenzakalani down in the streets, if at all she feels however because she's ungodly that hauna engwetsela akayibulaya. Your men don't understand just how much of a scary thing you are. Let's to a point where if at all there is no way out of this than to end up with you. You think coercion works? No. It only produces extreme reactions. It produces extreme reactions and despair. And despair does no other thing but kill people. So if you're gonna put a woman in despair and make her imagine that you are causing daughters to kill themselves. And if mina in a maze by a crazy ex, if monna okisa mo batleng o tlo ngnyala kankane cause o nthotse pele ha eba ne autinyana ya go shapa mapona mo strateng e tlo imagine gore le nna tshwantse ke lo appola tsaka diaparo le nna ke lo shapa stretla ke lo tsola ka o fela ke lo tsola nje fela ke lo bona na re sa apara. If at all a man feels as if though just cause he showed me his I gotta show him mine, if I don't want to do that mara wang foster and there is no coming out of that. Not balega. So if I can't balega, and imagine I've got God. So I'm not gonna go out like that. And I've been spared so very many times from eventually ending up like that, evidencing that God has no interest that means I should end up dying a suicide death. I was at odds. My mom, not just as I predicted, not predicted but petitioned. No matter what happens, she's back from holiday. There is an awkwardness. Weird. Anything. Because God loves my life. So if at all there are no situations in my life extraneous, physically pushing me off a cliff, so seeing as I like a building over which I would jump.